Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing? How's your week been? I hope your training has been going strong. I hope the gains have been with you. Let me know down below how it's been going for you. But today I want to talk about a concept known as progressive overload. Now, for those of you on the channel that are already into lifting, into training in any capacity, I'm pretty sure you already know what this is. But for those of you that are newer to it, maybe when the gyms open up, you're finally going to jump in and start hitting those goals you've always been meaning to do, then understanding progressive overload is incredibly important. This isn't just for those of you looking to get super strong, super massive, super ripped. This is a concept that everybody can benefit from, and understanding not only what it means, but also how to go about doing it and applying it is ultimately going to yield the best results from your training. So today I want to talk about that, make it super simple, so let's go. Alright, so to begin with, put super simply, progressive overload is the principle of challenging your muscles over time and then increasing that challenge as your body, as your muscles adapt to that initial challenge. Now, as I said in the beginning of the video, this doesn't just apply to those of us looking to get like really strong or really ripped. Even if you are just going to the gym for general health, you just want to kind of, I don't know, lose a bit of weight, you want to tone up a little bit. No matter what your goal is, ultimately progressing your training over time and not just doing the same thing over and over is what causes your muscles to grow, which again, for most of us, is the goal. Remember, building your muscle, growing your muscles does not mean you're trying to get massive, doesn't always mean you're trying to get hench. For a lot of people, growing your muscle, building a bit of muscle ultimately tends to line up with why a lot of people go to the gym. Now, if you want to get really nerdy about it, you can read a paper called The Mechanisms of Muscle Hypertrophy and Their Application to Resistance Training by Brad SCHOENFELD. Incredibly awesome paper. He's a very knowledgeable person. Alternatively, you can check out a really good Instagram post by my personal trainer, TULLOCH, or you can watch a fantastic video by Shredded Sports Science, also on this topic. All of those guys, incredibly intelligent people, incredibly knowledgeable, but I'm not going to get all sciencey with you guys because the purpose of video games is to make everything really simple and also talk about it through the lens of video games. So how does this apply in games? Well, you know when you play an MMORPG, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, anything, pick your favorite RPG, you know how you start at like level 1 and you open up the map and it says, hey, here's where you should level when you're levels 1 to 10. Then you get to level 10, the mobs stop giving you good XP, so you move to the next area, which is like levels 11 to 15, then 15 to 20. That is progressive overload. If you just stay in the first area and you continually grind the same mobs, eventually you're not really going to get any results. You're going to stick there, your XP bar is basically not going to move, and you're going nowhere. And this is exactly the same principle when it comes to your training, whether that be lifting weights, whether that be doing bodyweight movements, whether that be training for cardio, running, rowing, anything like that. Progressing your training over time is what yields results. However, where the confusion often lies is how to go about applying progressive overload. Because in its most basic form, the obvious answer is just add more weight. Add more weight to the bar, and as you begin, especially if you are new at training, that is probably the easiest and most reliable way to track this. You know, you go in and you can bench press 10 kilograms. Next week you can bench press 15 kilograms. The week after it's 20 kilograms. That is how it initially begins. However, progression is not linear, and I think this is really important to note because sometimes on some weeks, your progression will just skyrocket. Every single week you lift progressively more, and it's fantastic, super motivating, but other times you will hit plateaus and things might take longer to progress. But this is where it's really important to make sure you are looking at the bigger picture, because provided over a long period of time, your progress is going up, then you're moving in the right direction. However, more importantly, progressive overload does not just have to be putting more weight on the bar. And this is incredibly important to understand because when you start training, or if you're returning to training after the gyms haven't been closed for a long time, you won't always just be able to slap more plates on the bar. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more inventive. So some other options for applying progressive overload can be doing more reps with the same weight. This just means that if on one week you can do, say, 10 reps with 50 kilograms on, say, a deadlift, and the next week you can do 12 reps on that same weight, that is still progressive overload. Another option you have is to perform tempo or better controlled reps. If, for example, you do, say, a deadlift set of, 5 at a particular weight and you're bouncing the bar off the ground, but then the next week you're able to do that completely controlled, going to a dead stop and then pulling back up, that is also progression. It might be that when you're doing bicep curls, you're able to kind of hold it at the top position for a little bit longer before letting it go down. So better controlled reps, better performed reps is also a means of progressive overload. Another option you can have, and this is great if you are getting back into training, is just to dial up the frequency. If you can't do more reps, if you can't add more weight, but you can train an extra day, then even if you're just doing bodyweight training, say you do 10 press ups 3 days a week, but the following week you do 10 press-ups 4 days a week. That in itself is adding more volume, and by extension is another means of progressive overload. Again, if you apply it to kind of the MMO idea, you could either go and fight, say you're level 15, you can either go and fight a level 20 mob, i.e. putting more weight on the bar, or you can just go and fight 10 level 15 mobs 1 week, and then the next week fight 15 level 15 mobs. Yes, they are different, but they are still means of progressively overloading, you are still earning more XP, thus getting towards your goal. And then of course, finally, another one you can do, which is often quite fun for training, and also just a good way to sneak training into a shorter time frame, and that is supersets or drop sets. Again, if you can't add more weight to the bar or do more reps, you can sometimes start at a heavier weight and drop the weight and then just do drop sets, or you can pair two movements together, and instead of having a big rest between both of them, you instead do them back to back. Bicep and triceps, or push and pull. Those are all means of progressive overload. There are plenty more ways to apply this, but those are just a few things to keep in mind, because often some people will kind of get into training and they'll be like, I can't add more on the bar, it's just not happening, I can't lift this, I'm going nowhere, and then they get frustrated with their training, when realistically, sometimes just doing an extra rep, just doing a better rep, all of these are signs that your training is moving in the right direction. But there you have it, just a quick video today. I just wanted to explain this principle because it's something that we should all be applying to our training in some capacity. Again, I'm not telling you what you should and should not do, but I am saying that if we are going to train, if we're going to the gym, if we're trying to sort of work out, then we should all in some capacity be striving to do a little bit more each week, depending on what our goal is. So, I hope that's helped you guys out. I hope it's clarified a few things. If you guys have got your own ways of progressively overloading your training, let us know down below. And of course, I'll catch you guys next Sunday.